guys, it's me Himaru or Himena. We all have OCs that we have in our minds 24/7. And if you're like me, that's where most of the ideas stay, in my head. Even though I have a lot of ideas, I never know what exactly I want to draw. So after posting my OC's lore video, I had the motivation to create more art of them. As a matter of fact, it's a goal of mine to draw more of my OCs in a way that helps showcase more about who they are. So in order to help me get started, I'm going to try this OC art challenge I found on Pinterest. However, I will be picking and choosing what prompts I want to do. So I guess I'm technically not completing this challenge, but if I feel like it, I could always come back and finish the rest. Besides, I really want to do this challenge so you guys get to know more about my OCs a little bit more. But enough of that, let's get started. For this challenge, I'm focusing on Sebastian, since he's the main character of my story, which still doesn't have a name. I do have some ideas, I just haven't found the right name yet. Anyways, the first prompt I'm working on is just a normal full body, which I'm not mad about since I've been needing a new full body reference, especially since art fight's coming up. So these drawings that I'll be working on will work perfectly for me to showcase. So to start off, a small recap on Sebastian for those who might not know anything about him. Sebastian is a 19-year-old pyrokinetic, and in this world everyone is born with powers. However, there's two types of ways someone's able to use them. The majority of people are able to use their powers in any state, but in rare cases, there are those whose powers are based on their emotions. Those people are called E-types, and a lot of people look down on them since they're considered dangerous. I mean, no one wants to be around someone who's basically considered unstable. And Sebastian just happens to be an E-type. And despite being one, he still wants to be able to control his powers someday. He used to get bullied when he was younger for being one, so after taking some time to think about it, he decides to try and take an entrance exam for Core Academy, which is a prestigious school that helps all kinds of students, even E-types. And due to some unfortunate circumstances, he sadly doesn't pass and gets sent to Lucid Academy, which is a school that basically prepares E-types to eventually stop using their powers overall and become what people call normies. Others look down on him, but eventually he manages to deal with it. But if you'd like to know a bit more about the story's lore, I recommend watching my previous video where I talk about their lore a little bit more in depth. But going back to Sebastian, when he realized he was an E-type, his self-esteem went down. So when he realized he wanted to change and be able to control his abilities, funny enough, he decided the first thing to change was his appearance. He instead tries to not show much emotion, he wears a leather jacket, styles his hair, and he even puts on clip-on piercings since he's too afraid to commit to the real thing. He definitely gets his inspiration from Greaser's fashion. And when he gets sent to Lucid Academy, due to his new style, it actually creates a comedic moment where anyone who isn't close to Sebastian actually feels intimidated by him, even though that's not exactly what Sebastian wanted. The next prompt is to draw your OC as a child. Even though in my story we see a lot of flashbacks of when Sebastian is a child, I surprisingly never drew him as one. So I was excited to see what I could come up with. One of the things I wanted for his design was for him to not look too similar to how he looks like now. I don't know why, it always bothers me when the younger version of a character looks exactly the same as an adult. So I kept that in mind when creating his design. Now for a bit of young Sebastian lore. For the most part, he lived a happy childhood. Well, at least that was before finding out he was an E-type. Like I had mentioned, Sebastian got picked on by his classmates for being one. Even though he was always a shy kid, when he started getting picked on, his self-esteem lowered. He had little to no friends, he was quiet, and he felt like he didn't belong since he was one of the only students in the class who was an E-type. Because of this, he kept to himself most of the time. And to make matters worse, I had mentioned that being an E-type is considered dangerous since no one really knows what could happen when their emotions spike. And at first that was the case with Sebastian. His teachers would be afraid to get close to him, and his classmates didn't want to get to know him since they were afraid of getting hurt. However, despite what people thought, he actually rarely ever used his ability. Not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't. Sebastian is a scaredy cat and a crybaby. And because of that, he believes that that's the reason he can't use his powers, since flames tend to be associated with anger, and he's not someone who easily gets angry. However, when an opportunity for him to use his powers would come up, he would still do anything he could to try and convince his classmates and teachers that he could actually control his powers. As much as the other kids would pick on him, on the inside, he believed that if he could prove himself to them, that they would eventually stop picking on him. Prompt number 3 is them doing their hobbies or something they enjoy. I love thinking about my OC's hobbies, since I feel like it makes them a bit more fleshed out. So when I saw this was a prompt, I was so excited. So for Sebastian's hobby, I decided to have him play the guitar. It's always been a dream of mine to play the guitar, but since I'm too lazy to learn, Sebastian can have that skill instead. Playing the guitar definitely doesn't go with his tough guy aesthetic, and I think that's what makes it even funnier. This would totally be something that he wouldn't want anyone to know about. But of course, over time when he starts finding people who he trusts and he's comfortable around, I think he'd end up telling them and would eventually play some songs for them. Specifically, I think if he gathered enough courage that he would go and serenade to Danny. I think that would be so cute. But if we're being honest, Sebastian would most likely fumble and play the wrong note. I think his nerves would get the best of him. But that's okay, because either way, Danny would be flattered and if anything, she'd just appreciate the effort. And while I was drawing this, my mind was going ahead and thinking of other instruments the others would play. Even though I don't think everyone would play an instrument, I already went ahead and started thinking of a band AU. Sebastian would obviously play the guitar, Jaime would play one as well, Day would play the violin, Aki the drums, Danny the singer, and Lynn would either use the triangle or a trumpet. And now that I had briefly brought up Danny, prompt number 4 is with a best friend or soulmate. So for those who don't know, she is also one of the main characters for this story. But again, if you'd like more information on her, feel free to watch my previous video. Anyways, for this drawing, I decided to draw both Sebastian and Danny. I haven't really explained my OC's relationships with each other, but I guess this is a good start. So for this drawing, I guess you could see it as both best friends or soulmates. In the beginning of the story, Sebastian and Danny start off as friends. Danny is one of the only ones, along with Jaime, to want to help Sebastian out. They both share the same goal of wanting to control their abilities, and that's something that brings them closer together at the start. As time goes on, I think Danny would be the one to catch feelings first. And even though she tries to hint at him that she likes him, I think Sebastian would be too oblivious and just think that she's being nice. They're both pretty awkward and shy around each other, and when Sebastian starts falling for Danny, he would definitely worsen things up, to the point where both of them start thinking that the other doesn't like them. Danny would most likely overthink that he doesn't feel the same way since she's not girly enough, and because of her uncontrolled super strength, she would probably assume she's too weird for him. And with Sebastian, he would most definitely overthink things like accidentally saying the wrong thing, accidentally catching things on fire, and overall, he'd think he's not worthy of her. Because even though Danny wouldn't agree, Sebastian thinks highly of her and thinks that she's the most perfect girl in the world. They're so silly, I love it. But going back to the drawing, I decided to draw them dancing. I definitely think that Danny would be the one to take the lead and just have fun with it, while Sebastian, on the other hand, has no experience whatsoever. But he's happy as long as Danny's enjoying herself. I'm not sure if there'd ever be a scenario in the story where they'd be dancing. But either way, I would still like to draw all of my OCs dancing with each other. Those are all the prompts I was able to finish. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the results and enjoyed hearing a bit more about Sebastian. Now that I've explained their lore, I feel free to talk about them however much I want. So hopefully you guys love them as much as I do. I would love to do these challenges or even add some new ones for the rest of my OCs, so you guys get to know them a bit more. So we'll see what happens. But enough of that, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for watching, and other than that, until next time.